Good morning. I'd like to wait a few minutes for one more other board member that hasn't shown up yet. I won't wait long. But good morning and welcome to the October meeting of the Somerville Tree Protection Board. We'll get started very shortly.
Everyone.
Okay, our first item is approval of the minutes from last month's meeting. Is there any discussion, questions, et cetera?
Yeah, I have a question for staff. Have those minutes been amended to reflect the people who made motions as opposed to just board members? Well, I guess my question is just a parliamentary one and or code one. Can we approve those minutes without them being amended?
You should move the header.
Okay, okay. So I move to approve with the idea that they'll be amended to just reflect the names of the people who made motions rather than board member one or board member two.
I'll second that.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes are approved with amendments pending. Our first item of business is Parker's Kitchen on Maple Street. Is there a representative from Parker's Kitchen?
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning. I'm Daniel Ben Israel, Real Estate Development Manager, Parker's Kitchen.
Trey with Hume Warren Associates.
Is that the engineering firm?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just gotta get closer. So,
Well, we've been to the site twice. We see the
Okay.
changes that were made because of the new curb cut, which unfortunately meant the loss of more trees. We see that there was no change in the area that was to be preserved on the corner of, I don't know if it's called Mill House at that point or something else, Drive at the corner of that and Maple Street. So do you have any other changes that we need to know about, discussion of changes that we need to know about?
no, I don't believe there are any other changes. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend the on-site meeting. I think it was last week.
Yes.
I had a meeting conflict. I was in Georgia at the time. But we have not made any other changes since that time.
Any thoughts?
Well, it was just, just for the record, I'd say I was disappointed that when we met a couple of months ago with the landscape architects, they promised they would look to save some trees, look hard, because a lot of times if you look hard and are not just giving a peremptory wave, you can find a tree or two to save. And we go this time and find out that more to be removed because of the new road being put in, the new driveway. So that was disappointing. I just have to ask, I mean, as you look at this, is this absolutely final in your minds? Can you not find something to save?
So we are saving several trees in the corner, at the corner of the site, Business Park.
But I meant something other than what was originally.
Yeah, so the challenge with the access, and I believe you're talking about the change in the access along Business Park.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was driven by the town and Berkeley County. Originally, we were pushing for access to be closer to the intersection, which would have provided us the opportunity to preserve more trees. However, that we conducted a traffic impact analysis and had that reviewed by the town and Berkeley County, and it resulted in a very firm recommendation that we relocate the access further away from the intersection and outside of the right turn taper, which is reflected in the plan that you have currently, and also which resulted in the removal of additional trees.
So is there still an entrance off of Mill House Drive?
So we have an entrance off of North Maple,
Right,
and then
that's the new one.
yep, and then the entrance off of Business Park. And of course, you'll be able to access the site off of the internal driveway that we're constructing.
So that entranceway has changed from the one that we saw on the 26th of April
The entranceway on Business
on
Park.
going up Business Park Road, yes.
Yes, that's the one that to which I was referring when I said that Berkeley County and the town of Somerville required us to shift it outside of the right turn taper that they're installing and further away from the intersection.
Because I was originally looking at the older diagram was hoping that maybe we could move a driveway and save a big pine tree,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not the one now. That large tree, without blowing it up, I'm not sure there's an X in there or not, right there. Back, that's all I have to do is, okay, that tree is being saved. Correct?
Can
It
you
looks like it is.
point to the cursor? Could you use the cursor to,
Actually,
yeah, that tree's
that
being
tree-
shown as being removed.
Yes, that's the latest, exhibit I uploaded. This is,
Yeah.
there's no X on it.
Hmm. So I'm looking at an exhibit that does have it Xed out and scheduled to be removed.
What date is that exhibit?
Um,
$9.25. I uploaded in,
Hmm.
the portal.
so the
That
if
tree is being.
yeah, if I may, the other issue that we're having on this site that's kind of driving tree removal is the wetlands. So we have a wetlands complex that pretty much covers a good portion of that driveway coming off of Business Park. And through negotiations with the developer and seller of this property, we were attempting to, and so far we've accomplished limiting our wetlands impacts to less than a half an acre, which would determine whether or not we would need to do a nationwide wetlands permit or an individual permit. And there's a big difference between those two permits and the procedures and timelines associated with obtaining those permits. And so in an effort to minimize the wetlands impacts, keep them to less than a half an acre, we had to grade the site in a manner that would allow us to put the driveway in one based on where they were requiring us to have it, but also manage the stormwater. And so the grading plan calls for some significant grading along that driveway as you come in off of Business Park. And again, as such, preserving that large tree there was practically impossible after we graded that site. There's a pretty significant slope coming off of the roadway back towards Business Park. And it's right that tree falls right in the middle of that area. We were contemplating putting in retaining walls. That's how significant that slope is, but we were able to grade it out. The retaining walls proved not to be cost effective because I think we ended up with what, 600 linear feet.
We were able to, we were able to reduce, but it's quite a bit.
But yeah, originally it was 600 linear feet of retaining wall. And so we were able to balance that out, balance the stormwater out, balance the grading plan out, and reduce the amount of retaining wall that we put in. So unfortunately, it resulted in the removal of that large tree as well.
And if I could add just a little bit more context to that, right around that driveway, that proposed driveway location, where essentially Berkeley County is making us install because of the right turn lane they're going to be adding on to Business Park Road. That elevation sits at around 83, whereas our outfall is essentially at that same location. So we're having to bring in a lot of dirt to create that gravity to pick up the stormwater from the driveway and collect it into our ponds. And so it's not a lot of fall from that driveway location to our outfall. And so it required a lot of grading, a lot of fill to be put there to create the gravity to pick up the stormwater. And I just want to also add that context as to why the walls were introduced. The walls were introduced to minimize the impacts on the wetland exhibits as well. But also, we also took into account, we put the least amount of walls to also preserve as many trees as we could. We keep grading within half acre of impact, but not more than what we need.
So what is the change in grade around that tree that's now going to be removed?
Yeah, I was just looking.
Existing grade right there is around 83
Mhm.
and
Right,
probably got 3 feet of fill right there.
Yeah.
okay.
And so it drops off from 88 to 84.
Okay,
Our pond has a no more around 83. Top of pond around 87.
Which is the pond? Good idea.
Yep.
So this side has 2 interconnected ponds.
Okay,
That one, and then,
Yes. And your wetland, the wetland boundary, is pretty much that whole area. At least from the edge of that pond all the way up to the other end of the drive. Oh, pretty much all the way up to the property line too. The wetlands
Mhm.
expand that entire area. So it was a balancing act, kind of got to solve the driveway to get it into the site, collect it, minimize wetland impact, and treat that.
at the bottom of the pond on the right is a large tree. 20.5-inch diameter pine tree. Is that being removed because of proximity to the pond or because of the structure that its footprint effect?
that tree, yes. So that's being removed because it falls within the area of the underground storage tanks for the fuel.
We know that the organization that is overseeing the landscaping on this project has some very good plans for native vegetation and everything like that. We've not been able to speak with that person yet, but are you aware of the efforts on that?
Yes.
behalf?
Yes, we've had several meetings with the developer seller of this property and their DAT, which is the Design and Architecture Board or team. And so we've submitted a compliant landscaping plan that complies with their standards. They reviewed it. We haven't received final approval on that plan yet, but we're trending towards that.
Is there much to be done on the Maple Street side? I realize there were a lot of reasons why a lot of that stuff had to come out. I forget all the reasons.
Yes, and we've, again, that landscaping plan that we've submitted addresses all of their, road planting requirements. I think we had probably no less than 3 meetings with that group in order to make sure that our landscaping plan met their standards.
Well, it's an important area that's about to be massively developed, and the only good solution is to make it as attractive as possible,
Absolutely.
no matter what is put on the properties, which are exceedingly valuable and in high demand.
Yes, and it's standard, it's standard operating procedures for us as Parker's Kitchen to, densely plant our sites. You can look around town. I think we do a pretty good job with not only the architecture, but landscaping as well. Our owner and founder, he's really big on putting in some robust landscaping, site furniture, et cetera. And this site will be no exception. It's going to look really nice.
that gas line along, excuse me, North Maple Street, is that an existing gas line or is that a proposed gas line?
Existing.
Okay.
Ooh, no digging. Anything else? Stanley?
No, I mean, here again, I just share my disappointment with the poor attempt at saving trees on this. I think it's just a little bit of a broad brush approach and not very discerning. But I mean, I can perhaps wait and see what if the architectural group, the design group accepts the landscape plan and see what they have to say. But, we're told that there's no alternatives and I guess, you know, have to accept people at their word, though I'm quite disappointed.
Also, I wanted to ask, you know, again, on North Maple Street side, I know you're gonna try to do some planning there, but is there gonna be some additional utilities that would go in there or stormwater or anything like that that's gonna prevent any kind of planning that may be proposed?
On the North Maple side,
Yes, yeah.
no additional utilities. We will be tying in our electric plan and placing a transformer, but I think that's going to be on the right side of the store with minimal impact. We have a sign that has yet to be placed on that side.
Mhm.
Aside from that, no stormwater facilities. We will be putting in landscaping, and then there's around the outdoor seating area, we will be installing a perimeter wall, if you will, a more
Gotcha.
a decorative perimeter wall per the DAT's requirements as well.
Any other questions, comments?
Well, I just wonder if we if we could or should defer on this until we see the landscape plan from until their landscape plan is accepted. Because if it's not accepted, then we don't know what our final product is.
I thought there was some,
Question for staff. Has the landscape plan been considered and close to being accepted?
Has the landscape plan been submitted?
yes, we've submitted that plan to the 7P DAT group, which represents the sellers
Mhm.
and current owners of the property. So they allowed us, what we did was they approved us to move forward with our DRB submittal, which our DRB submittal was approved by the DRB, I think, last month or the month prior. And in that submittal was the landscaping plan that we reviewed with them multiple times and gained their acceptance on it. They were satisfied enough with that plan to allow us to proceed with submittal to the DRB and to the tree board. I was under the impression that there was some communication from that group directly with this board or with staff that would provide, I guess, some background on their acceptance of that plan, but it doesn't sound like that happened. But I mean, they are the individual that's heading up that group, in particular, the individuals that's looking at the landscaping plan. He is a landscape architect, and believe me, he's not cutting any corners, and he's holding us to a very high standard.
We know who you're probably speaking of.
Yep. So he's holding us to a very high standard, and I think in the end you'll be satisfied with what gets planted on the site.
Well, whether or not the landscape plan is approved, it's not going to affect the cutting of the trees that are spoken for.
Well, no, but if it's a good landscape plan and one that this design oversight group, the one that Rick is that Chris is working with, if they approve it, then it makes me comfortable that they have looked at the environmental impact of removing all these trees and are looking to mitigate it the best they can.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, if I may, I'd like to add, which is not reflected on this plan, and I wish we did have the landscaping plan with us, that the requirements of the 7P DAT group are such that we've even gone in and around the detention ponds, they required us to put in an aquatic shelf in the detention ponds, along with tree plantings on the perimeter of the pond. Again, I wish I had that plan to show you, but that speaks to the level of involvement that they've had in the landscape design and what the end product is going to be. You don't typically see that in many locations. detention ponds with an aquatic shelf and trees along the bank of the pond.
Hmm,
But that's something that they've asked us to do here.
Okay, so both ponds are gonna have the tree plantings around the shelf of the. Mhm.
Around the banks of the ponds. Mhm. They wanted those features to be more, I would say, integrated
Mhm.
into the site design.
You don't know what species of trees they've got proposed, do you?
I do not recall. I apologize.
Okay.
Well, and following up on that, what's the total number of trees, if you recall, as best you recall, that will be of new trees that will be replanted?
New trees we replanted.
Wow.
Ballpark it for me.
I
100,
really,
200, two?
I could pull it up. Let's see here. What's maple? I could pull it up really quickly.
Like you said, Danny, it might be prudent to delay approval of this until we get all the parts and pieces together. Because there are a lot of pieces that are not together.
I think we're fine with that.
They could be
Remy.
smart.
can we, simply temporarily wait to find if there is the approval from,
That DRB approval ensures that their landscape plan meet our DO requirements. So the plan that they submitted to DRB received final approval, they have approved. I don't think there's any point in waiting on it, because they have already got that approval.
okay, that's what, that's the question we're asking. So it exists.
Yeah,
Okay.
we need to know that.
And we weren't allowed to submit to DRB until the developer approved us to do so. And so that's what cleared the way for us to make that submittal and obtain that approval from DRB. When I mentioned that we didn't have final approval, I was referring to final approval from the DAT, which is a separate process. It's more of an internal process, but they did approve us to move forward with DRB approval, and we did get that approval.
So let me see if, make sure I understand. So you have gotten approval from the DAT to submit to DRB,
That's correct.
but you haven't gotten approval from DAT for your final landscape plan.
For the final
For the
plan.
final.
For the final plan overall, and the reason being is because there are other elements that need to get approved, namely the signs, the final appearance of the signs, and the site furniture. Those are the items that specific specifications that the DAT has yet to approve. And so they're not going to give us final approval on the development plans until those two items have been addressed. All the other, the site layout, landscaping, those things have been approved.
All right, so I would take your word at Remy, that is what has occurred to now basically constitute approval of the site plan by all those concerned. That is DRB. No, no. Are you satisfied that those, that the,
I am satisfied that their landscaping plan is approved.
okay,
That's what he was asking about. So
so
we needed to have that.
I'll make a motion that we approve the removal plan, regrettably, because it takes so many trees out, but we understand the reality of the situation. But nevertheless, approve the removal plan submitted here today.
A second.
Any more thoughts? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
I,
Opposed?
I abstain.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
The next item I have is 117 North Park Avenue.
Sure,
Come on up.
sure, you may.
Good morning.
Good
Morning.
morning.
Certainly you may express your thoughts and your views.
Thank you. We moved here 2.5 years ago, and the large river birch tree that is between our property and our neighbor's property has some very large limbs that overhang onto the neighbor's property. And with the recent storms, if you look at that picture, particularly the limbs right where the cursor is hang over onto the neighbor's property, and several of the branches, large branches, have come down on his vehicle in the driveway. And we were just asking for permission to remove the tree. We have quite a few pollinators and native plants on our property, and we would like to plant a native, preferably pollinator tree, not in that location, but to the right in our front yard, basically the center of the front yard. You're looking now at the neighbor's property.
All right.
Well,
Thoughts?
yeah, we,
If you also, pardon me, if you also look at that lamp post, some of the neighbors have told us that previous storms have caused damage. That lamp post is needed to be replaced twice.
okay. Yeah, we did go out and take a look at it, and, you know, river birches, they do have some tendencies to drop branches as they age, and this one looks like it definitely has some age on it. And I think we found some structural insufficiencies with the tree. And the idea of mitigating with another tree or two, depending on the space available. I don't have a problem having this tree removed for that. I think it's just going to be an ongoing issue, especially with that branch headed over to your neighbor's house. I think you could see some issues later on with that. Tree looks nice on the outside, but I think moving forward, there's going to be some problems that you'll probably see.
And you had suggested that we could talk with Justin to get recommendations for native trees that also could be beneficial to natural habitats. So we'll be,
You're willing to do that,
oh, absolutely.
okay? Okay,
Yeah, no, I agree with Claude's analysis. The main feature that concerned me was the leader that grows over the neighbor's property had two cavities in it that appeared that they might be connected, which concerns me that it may be structurally unsound. So with the proper mitigation, I move that we allow the removal of the river birch.
I'll second that.
What are your recommendations regarding the mitigation? Is there a requirement for size of trees or placement?
You can get with Justin on that.
Arborist Justin will take care of those
Okay.
details. So we have a motion that has been seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed? You may remove the tree and speak with Justin about the contingencies of what you get next.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. One 51 Gadsden.
Morning, guys.
Morning.
Ladies. My face. All right, so like we were talking about before, I mean, unless y'all are okay with letting that pine go out of hand for the pool installation. What are your, what's the board's thoughts with that?
I would be, initially, I'm opposed to allowing the removal of that tree. It's a big, healthy pine that doesn't, I didn't see anything that struck me as, uh, any issues with it, either structural or long-term health. So I'm initially opposed to removing it, for the construction of a pool.
And I agree with that as well. I think there's always the possibility of discussion about location change, and I know there's mitigating factors involved in that discussion. But my initial response is that I would not want to see that tree cut down. Mitigation for that tree is certainly a possibility, but I think I'd really like to look at that a little harder.
It would have been nice if you had had the dimensions of the pool already marked for our benefit.
What was that?
It would have been beneficial if the dimensions of the pool had been marked on the ground with a spray or something to let us know exactly where the pool would be and the
Yeah.
possibility of shifting in one direction or another with consideration to these trees that we're talking about.
Okay, we could probably, like we were talking before, maybe do another walkthrough of the property and I can get her pool contractor to mark out the footprint that was approved. And then we can take a better look at the entire situation.
Mhm.
That sound good?
Clark?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, I think we're all in agreement. We don't want to see the tree removed, but we understand that she may have some issues about putting the pool in another location in the backyard. So I'm willing to meet on site and
Yeah,
kind of talk about that a little bit more and see what we need to do.
okay. Are we gonna set that up through?
Well, we can do one of two ways. We can defer till the next month's meeting and tree visit, which would be basically a month from last Wednesday. I don't know how much benefit there would be to call a special meeting to meet prior to that and make a decision at the time. Can I get some feedback on that?
I don't have a need to meet before then. I'm perfectly happy to defer until the next meeting, but I don't know if the applicant
Does
has
the
a special
applicant
need.
have a burning desire to have to move that quickly, or can we wait a month?
I mean, we're talking about putting it on next month's meeting.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we would
Yeah.
visit the site again with our other site visits on the Wednesday before the next meeting.
Gotcha. I'm sure she would be fine with that. I mean, she's been working with pool contractors for like 6 months now, but it kind of is what it is.
Yes.
So.
Okay. Well, I move that we defer the decision on this tree and revisit it on the schedule for next month's meeting.
I
Second
second
that.
that.
What walkthrough day would that be? So I have a date.
The first Wednesday of November.
First Wednesday in November?
Yep.
Okay. Sounds good. Appreciate it, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, thank you.
So I have a second. Do we have any more thoughts? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We may see you next month. You bet.
Thank you.
Next, we have 104 Upson.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
We have a large tree in the back. I can't remember the exact species though.
Water.
The water oak. And basically I've lived in that house since 2008 and I've always had issues with limbs falling, breaking the fence. This is my neighbor. Yep. And it's, as you can see by the photos, it's becoming kind of a danger and it hangs really tall over all of our properties. It's not a protected species. So I'm just asking for permission to be able to remove it.
Well, by virtue of its size, it is protected unless there are, it meets the criteria, 3 different criteria, dead, disease, and dying. Otherwise, it is protected. But we realize what your issues are.
Yeah. And you can see it, it's where it splits off at the base, it just creates a lot of, there's even, can you go down? Yeah, to 27 right there at the base. So what happens is it kind of breaks off and then sections of it just kind of split and fall.
Mhm.
And it has now a limb down for that, it does hang directly over. I have an indoor swimming pool, and that's also a huge concern, especially as the storms continue and hurricane season kind of keeps picking up, damage that can cause to my pool.
Mhm.
When did the arborist come out and take a look? How long has that been?
This
And-
summer, so.
A couple months ago.
Okay, and what were the concerns other than falling branches? Was he saying anything about the structural integrity, the trunk of the tree, anything like that, any kind of disease issues? Did he do a letter for you or anything, or just verbally kind of expressed his concern?
Yeah, let's see here. if I can-
I know he expressed the age of those trees. I think the age is 50 years and, so it was getting towards age and it's did express concerns about the structural, like especially with the proximity to the fence and.
Mhm.
they mentioned that our properties.
Well, we looked at it and, just from the ground, we didn't see any issues. I think we did have concerns about 2 of the smaller trunks coming out of the base of that area there and having those removed. And just from time to time, going back into the canopy of the tree and trying to clean up trees, the branches that may be starting to show some dieback, that type thing. But really overall, we thought the tree looked fairly healthy, very healthy.
And you could prune up to 20% of the limbs, which would address your concerns over. Some of that might fall somewhere, and yet we can't predict the weather. I'd be a genius if I could do that, right? I haven't got that yet.
Would I have the option of replanting a tree that maybe isn't so prone to losing limbs and instead? I'm more than willing to do that. I just, the fear of branches falling all the time and they spread out so far. I'm more than happy to put any tree in there that you all would recommend.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
Well, a new tree is not going to give the same benefits for stormwater mitigation and flood prevention and all the things that this water oak is giving. And the just so that you know, the normal lifespan for a water oak is 70 years, not 50. So I mean, and I just wanted you to feel comfortable with the age of this tree. And that tree, based upon its size, does not appear to me to be anywhere close to that. I think it's offering some great benefits environmentally for lots and lots of reasons, and that removal of at least one, if not a second, if need be, of the smaller leaders that grow from the base of the tree, and then a good therapeutic pruning would stand that tree in good stead and keep it safe and healthy for some time to come.
I think that's a good idea. You could almost accomplish what you want without removing the tree that way.
You would
So the
move-
20% that would be allowed to be removed, what would that kind of look like? I mean, I can't Would you take out the distance from the limbs on how far out it is? Would you remove 20% from the base?
No.
Would,
Yeah, I think if you talk with your arborist who does the work and they probably know, but make sure that they understand that the code says only 20%. And then what they would look to do is to remove those portions of limbs or entire limbs that perhaps arch out too far or that may have a weak union with a side branch or, you know, show some maybe rubbing together or show some signs of disease. A good arborist can look at that, could look at the tree and take out 20% and make it a much safer, much healthier tree.
Yeah, the consistent pruning, therapeutic, however we want to call it, cosmetic, over time will certainly eliminate the falling branches. Trees need, you know, maintenance just like we do. And so, and it's less pricey of a proposition than to remove the whole tree. So I agree as well that the pruning with the substantial nature of this tree, the size, its canopy, what it contributes, needs to be thought over. And I think the pruning option, thinning the crown, getting rid of those bad co-leaders, would surely help in that direction. And as Danny just said, for a good long time, that tree would cease to be a worry of yours.
Now, and then additionally, in the event that, I don't know if your arborist is a certified arborist or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
But if a certified arborist were to present a letter to this board, that cites structural issues or other issues that would mandate the removal of the tree, we'll consider it. Doesn't mean we'll accept it because we may see things technically that person hasn't seen, but we'd look at it and give it further consideration. But again, I mean, I think a good pruning and just watching the tree, monitoring the tree for years to come would serve you well.
Yeah, the only thing we saw was what we saw from the ground, and the arborist could possibly get up in the tree and see some things that we're not seeing. And I think that's where Danny's kind of coming from with the arborist letter that might denote that there are some other issues with the tree.
okay,
But everything that we saw, we thought the tree was healthy.
okay.
And more information is always good
Yes, ma'am.
in making an important decision like this is.
Well, I can speak with him after we're done and maybe get a letter drafted up and see what happens. Do we have to file for another permit, or would that be something that's carried over into next month? How does that kind of work?
Not if.
What do
you-
I need to do from
If
here?
the
I guess?
letter applied to this visit, then no, you would not have to reapply. We would reconsidering your original application.
Okay, yes, sir.
And please, I ask him if he does the letter for you to be specific.
Yep.
And if he's done these letters before, he'll know what we're talking.
Even photos help big time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
So I move that we defer approval or disapproval of this particular application until we hear, let me amend that. I'm sorry. I move that we deny removal of this tree unless the applicant delivers a letter from a certified arborist indicating there are structural issues that warrant the removal.
I second it.
And again, along with that is our high recommendation that pruning be approached on the tree, if nothing, you know, that stays the way, that's the most important thing for the sake of the tree.
Right.
And your safety. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
147 and 149 Limehouse Drive.
We have 248.
I'm sorry, 248 Red Rough Street. Anybody here representing 248 Red Bluff Street?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, there are two pine trees in the back of this property that were left, is that correct? That
Yeah, part
Left,
of the mitigation.
That's correct. They were part of a mitigation requirement.
right, thank you. They're part of a mitigation requirement and we didn't see any structural issues to cause concern. The the property backs up to what's going to be an extension of the Berlin Myers. And on the other side of that is a pretty forested area, which serves as a windbreak. So consequently, I move to deny the request to remove those two trees.
I second that.
God, do you have any thoughts?
No, I think Danny pretty much spelled it out. Trees look to be fine and no issues there, so I agree with that assessment.
All those in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. And now, pardon me, is 147 and 149 Limehouse Drive. Well,
Nobody's here for that either.
so it seems, you would know. Could you speak to us real quickly about you wrote extensively and I know there was some discussion on site.
Yeah, let me pull up the plan here. So we did do a site visit when we were out on Wednesday. The arborist report is pretty accurate. You know, the condition of the trees uses the description form quite a bit in that report if you read through it. Some of the trees have more taper, you know, growing in the stand like that. His concern were trees that would be left standing around the building after construction is finished. You know, that having a dynamic wind load, you know, susceptible to wind throw. I think our major concern or, you know, amendment to this plan would be kind of moving that silt fence to retain a couple more trees behind the buildings. You can see here with the silt fence. Looking to see if we could possibly, you know, change the limits of disturbance to a little closer to the back of the buildings to maybe contain these trees. There was also concern about some of these trees in the front here, typically 69, 73. And then I think we had this 18-inch pine on this side. If they could retain a little more trees in those areas as well. They've got a couple stands down here that they're retaining, which looks good. Those trees look in decent condition. So our main you know, concern comment was trying to retain a couple more trees towards the back and front of the lot. I think the placement of the buildings decent for the site. You look at this site, you can see there's a good stand of trees on the back of the lot that will be retained. So there will be a good cover, good stand of trees retained after construction.
Is that permanent, do you think, or is that just dreaming?
I mean, as of now, it's perfect. These are, I'm not aware of any future development that would happen with that, you know, as of now.
Okay,
Yeah, I would like to see if we can move the silt fence to allow some of those trees to remain. I'm not saying all of them are in the best shape for that to happen, but there are some in there that are graded at least to see that I think would have a good chance of surviving. And I think that should be looked at. And I'm guessing like everything else that, you know, these developments, there's gonna be some additional landscaping with this, any additional tree planting, any idea?
There's nothing that's been proposed as far as a landscape plan. I'll have to check on the zoning to see exactly what their requirements.
You feel the same about those trees in the front, the big pine and that ought to be attempted to be saved, that are closer to the building than perhaps the owner wished.
Yep.
Well, it's unfortunate they're not here to discuss this.
Right.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. So the question, I guess, in my mind is, do we accept the plan and vote in favor of the plan provided they seek to move the silt fences and save a few trees in the front yard, or do we just defer it till they can be here to discuss it?
I almost feel like we need to defer it. And just because there may be some reason why the silt fence is placed where it is. I don't know. But I'd kind of like to defer it and have them address those issues if possible.
It makes sense to me.
Okay, well, I move that we defer decision on this property until the owners can be present, so we can discuss some of the small changes that we wish to make.
A second.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We got a busy month next month.
Yeah.
Will we be able, we being you, able to communicate with these applicants to say, when you come to the meeting, be prepared to discuss this?
Yes, we can communicate with them afterwards. Let them know
Okay,
what was decided.
super.
All right. I have no more business items. I see two in the audience here that,
They've already taken care of them.
oh, that's right, you do. I'm sorry.
I think they're waiting on me.
We've got to hurry them up. Does anyone else have thoughts, questions, concerns about Parker's Kitchen?
Well,
Just want you to say more and tell me where you are.
well, sadly, as I said, I was disappointed, but Parker's Kitchen is an example of one of those developments that we just, there's not much we can do. And that's a sad thing. Despite what the representative said, I don't agree that Parker's Kitchen does a great job with landscaping. But perhaps
We've heard
that's a
that.
matter of taste.
We've heard that many times before.
But as I look at it, I don't see what we can do, but which is why I abstained. I wasn't sure, but I didn't want to support it.
I understand.
But yeah, I don't know what else to do except to accept it.
These deals, Remy, are complicated. And with particularly are going to be on Maple Street. Every one of them is going to be like that because you got the TAP or whatever it is. You got the ordinance, you got Chris standing in the middle of it. It would be good that final little bit of information could have gotten to us. That is that everything is A-okay, because DRB doesn't necessarily mean landscape plan approval, does it?
It always does.
It
yes.
does?
To get final approval, the landscape plan is part of their final approval.
So in this case with the TAP or whatever it is the same.
That was some internal thing, that's their own separate review standard, so it's not at DRB review. But to get final DRB approval, the landscape plan does have to meet the requirements of the town's UDO.
Will that be the case for all these properties along Maple Street?
Yeah, anything that gets DRB approval. has
No,
to-
but also in conjunction with a TAP approval. And the
I'm not
right hand,
sure-
left hand, knows what's going on.
I'm not sure what the boundaries of that special review are. Some private development group that owns the member properties out there, but I don't know exactly the extent of those bounds where they would be falling under the jurisdiction of that review.
Chris is right in the middle of all of that. Is that correct?
Yes.
So we have someone on our side that we could speak with
Yeah, we did.
to get feedback on any project that comes along, because there's gonna be a bunch of them out there. It's just the beginning. Okay,
Can we get a copy of the landscape plan, you know, when we have this meeting, just like today, that we've gotten a copy of it just to see what it looked like?
Yeah, that was a mix up on the application. So just our internal system, obviously the tree protection board and design review board files are separated.
Mm-hmm.
So they did get the final DRB approval, but we only have, or Justin only had when he made the packet, access to what they had directly uploaded in their tree removal application.
Right.
So that was just some miscommunication with the applicant, but we could have and should have had those in here.
Okay. Yeah, it'd be good to have that just to see what they've got laid out or proposed for that and, you know, whether or not we can do anything with it, but it would just kind of help us to kind of see what was the site's going to look like after everything's been constructed and planted and everything else.
I agree with that. The more information we can have, it makes our job easier. And that's just the way it should be.
Right.
Have all the parts and pieces together, and then pretty much everyone is happy with that. I like having information.
any more thoughts, comments, discussion? May I have a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
Very good. Good job, sir.